Hello everyone, this is Eflex and welcome back to another A Producer's Approach video. In this video, I'm going to be looking at Soulero's song, Aura. So if you haven't watched my videos in the past, I basically break down these videos into three separate sections. First, I have an intro backstory section. Second, I have a breakdown analysis section. Lastly, I have an outro section. So Aura is one of my top songs from Soulero that I like. In terms of like my favorite song, this is like a tie between his collab with Eminence Invisible. Both of those songs are really good. And Aura is on a really good album that has various different genres of other songs, but it's on the Monstercat 021 Perspective album. And there are three notable songs in terms of like the electro style that I like. Aura is one of them. The second one is Fugitive by Case in Point, and the third one is the remix by Fool and Didrict for War by Astronaut and Far Too Loud. So those three electro songs are songs I listen to quite a bit. And in terms of the backstory of this song, I don't know if this is correct. It's been about like 7 or 8 years since like I've read the comments or whatnot. But Soulero, if you watch this video, you could definitely confirm this. But I remember reading a long time ago when the song came out that Soulero's house, like I don't know, caught on fire or was burning down, and then he grabbed his laptop before it was burning down or was on fire, and then he was able to finish the song after, like in the aftermath of that. I don't know if I got that story exactly correct. If that's incorrect, then that's my mistake. But I do remember seeing that in the comments before and thinking how it was a little bit strange how that happened. But it could be a real thing that his house was on fire and this was like he saved his laptop luckily and then was able to finish the song. So if that's factual or not, Soulero, just leave a comment down below whether it is or not. But this is definitely a really good song, and it kind of defines his style in terms of like the growth of him as a producer, whether it be the clarity of the mix, the flow of the song, or just the sound designs in general. This is just one of those times where I wouldn't say he peaked, but he definitely grew into what his style is today. So we'll get into the song Aura and hope you guys enjoy. Let's get started. Okay, so this is the more traditional electro introduction, but it's a bit interesting because there's a lot of different sounds happening right at the get go. I mean, you do hear the kick and then some hi hats, but the hi hats are not like a traditional hi hat. This sounds almost like a white noise, almost in a sense, like or like a shaker. But there are like three different sounds that you hear, at least I hear. You hear kind of like a boom, and then you hear like a calm response of like almost like two different higher pitch sounds, which almost sound like sirens, which is really interesting. I can like pinpoint three different sounds that are having like a calm response with each other, and then the beat itself is like a kick, and then like the shaker kind of hi hat rhythm that's not on every beat. It comes in maybe on the second kick or maybe on every third beat of the 4/4 rhythm. So pretty interesting there. I like just how the song's starting with more than just the kick and maybe a clap or a snare or a hi-hat. So there's just a lot of, sounds already just starting right off the bat. So it's a little more intricate than some of the other introductory sections for electro songs. So anyways, let's continue. So within that section, you hear more of the pads and the chords playing, and they're slowly being built up with a filter. So you hear the volume and just uh, the sound itself getting wider until it hits about 30 seconds to the first kind of intro break section. And then you do hear those vocal chops. within this beginning section, which is a very, Soulero staple to his style. So very interesting section here. There's a lot of movement, a lot of moving parts within this first 30 seconds. Even though it is a more traditional intro, there's just a lot of different moving parts, which makes it more interesting to listen to, at least to me. So, anyways, let's keep going. So within that section there, I wanted to point out that there is a kind of a sawish type sound playing the pad kind of chords, but then there also is a pluck that plays along, like, I guess after you hear the initial attack of the note being played for the initial note for the chord progression, which is a nice effect for me because it sounds like there's a lot of movement with the plucking of that chord progression. So it sounds like there's an adding of a flow within the section, which I think is really nice. It's a really nice touch there. And it pairs really nicely with the calm response with the vocal chop as well. So really interesting section there. A lot of sounds I keep mentioning that are happening within, the first 46 seconds of the song. So anyways, let's keep going. Okay, so within the section, you hear the chord progression playing, and then you hear art playing in the lead melody, which I find really interesting because it's very different sounding sounds than what you heard previously. Previously, you heard more kind of dreamy um, type pad sounds, and here you hear a more almost electronic mechanical type arp sound, which I like quite a bit. The contrast between the dreamier sound versus the more, I guess, electronic sound kind of pairs really nicely. And I like the use of the arp within the section for the main melody and the kind of the chord progression, because it does add some flow, having kind of the, I guess, arpeggiating kind of motion with it, and it just kind of gives it a different total feel to the song. So, anyways, we'll get into this build up section here and keep going. I like this section here because you hear the synth go, and then you hear the other sound like respond back going, and then you hear the vocal chop saying, ha. So it's like three calm responses happening all at the same time. And I don't know what that sound is. That sound, like, Soulero, if you do watch this video, you could kind of explain what you used to make that sound, because it's a very unique sound. It sounds kind of like an arp to me, but it also has the characteristics of like a wub. But I'm not exactly sure what that sound is. But I always thought it was really cool sounding, really mechanical, really electronic sounding. So it just pairs really nicely all together. And again, there's a lot of moving parts within the song, just to build up to the, build up chorus section. So anyways, let's keep going. Okay, so that was the build up. You hear a synth sound just playing, a repeating, it could be the root note of the main song, kind of just playing the main root note. You hear a snare build up, more traditional snare build up, and then you do hear a VFX in the background that just kind of builds up like an uplifter, I guess you'd say, like just builds up, and it's a longer one. So you kind of hear in the background building up for a little while. And then what I like also with a lot of other songs is there's a breath of air here. So it just kind of builds up. There's like a breath in the tension, and then it's just going to hit with the kick, and just the chorus will start. So really nice build up there. Really nice use of contrasting sounds from the beginning with more elegant, dreamy like sounds to more kind of electronic, almost robotic sounding sounds building up into the chorus. So, anyways, let's keep going. Okay, so that's part like the main part of the drop or first chorus, and I do really like it a lot. The percussion is really interesting to me. It's a 4/4 rhythm, but certain percussive elements like shakers and hi-hats and stuff are added in various spots to, they're not like consistently playing, they're adding like various spots to give it extra flow. Like I can't really describe it in a sense, but it's not like a consistent rhythm like you hear it like it's thrown in like maybe on like the third of a beat, or like towards the end of a measure you hear like a couple shakes there, and it just works really well with the rhythm for this section and this chorus section. And then you do hear the pads play, the chord progression, and then you do have a call and response there where the pads sound like super soft, kind of like synth pads playing, and then you have the vocal chops responding, which like you have a vocal chop in a higher pitch and then one in a lower pitch. So it's playing along with the melody, which you hear a whole call and response section with that, and then the really nice flow and varying rhythm with the percussion. So it's all really different. Really good, really good variation and flow within this section of the song. And then it changes up here even a little bit. So we'll listen to this section and then we'll keep going. Okay, so that section is very interesting. The rhythm doesn't really change all that much, but it's the synths themselves that kind of change. So you hear the pads playing, but I think you hear the vocal chops first, and then the pads might respond, or it could still be the pads or the synths playing and the vocal chop answers. But there's a lot more calm response just between those two sounds. And what I do like is that the synths don't play consistently like throughout the whole measure. Like they play maybe like halfway through the measure, maybe 3/4 through the measure, and then the vocal chops answer the whole rest of the way, which is really nice. There's not as many consistent sounds, and there's a lot of exchange between a lot of various sounds. So call and response is heavily used within this song, which I like quite a bit. And then there is some filtering out of sounds as it kind of fades out into this kind of second break and break section. And what I do like is the kind of sub sweep or sub bomb, well, sub sweep, I would say. The synth I use, or the effect I use when I make music, is called sub bomb. It's in the plugin Nexus, and it kind of just sweeps the sub bass. But I don't know what Soulero does, but I like that effect of like a subwoofer sweep. Basically, in the lower frequencies, it kind of sweeps down, so you hear a boom, and it's just kind of a nice effect because it just kind of gives some flow, and like it's a really nice transition into like another section. So there's like a breath of air, but then that kind of is used as a transition within that breath of air. So there's enough of I guess a transition to make a big kind of difference between like the chorus happening and then going into the break. So anyways, let's keep going. Okay, so this section is similar to the intro section with the like the pads and that kind of arp playing on the bottom, or playing along with the pads as well. I think there's a synth playing the main attacking notes, but there's a arp also playing along to hear the kind of arpeggiating along with it. And then it's a really kind of dreamy section. You do hear, at least I do, I hear a pad in the background, like a choir pad in the background, giving it a really dreamy effect. And it's a lot longer. You don't have that kind of variation with that kind of robotic arp and lead section, which is a interesting thing to do because now in this section it focuses more on the dreamy element of this song, which I actually kind of like a little bit better because if it was just the same kind of robotic or kind of electronic arpish sound again, I don't think it would capture the whole feeling of, I guess, what the song Aura was trying to capture. I do think this dreamy section is pretty important to have and kind of have a more kind of big and, I guess, dreamy section. So it was a little bit longer than the original section, and then there was a nice VFX kind of sound that kind of winds up to transition to this build up section. So let's keep going. So with this section, the build up into the chorus is a little bit faster. It's not as long as it was in the very beginning of the song, which I think is okay. I think it's pretty good for the structure of the song because you already had a long build up the first time. You don't really need it again the second time. And what I do like within this build up, which is pretty similar, is the vocal chop. It is playing, it's just a little bit lower and maybe plays at the beginning of every measure, which I think is pretty nice. But it's a snare buildup, same kind of synth playing the root note, and then you do have a VFX uplifting. So pretty nice within that section. And there's another breath of air, and we'll get into the second chorus. Okay, so that was the second chorus and second drop. Pretty similar in terms of structure to the first chorus and drop. What I want to note about the percussion is that it's very similar to a Deadmau5 song or the older Deadmau5 songs where they have more intricate rhythms where the kick and snare isn't playing consistently with a hi-hat playing all the time. It's more sporadic and it's like methodically placed, I guess you would say, like the shakers and the hi-hats, where it's not just, copy paste. It seems more thought out and it sounds almost more live like, where it's not just like someone just slamming on a hi-hat all the time. It's planned out, it seems a little bit. So the flow and the rhythm is more intricate, at least to me. And the second part of the drop, kind of when it has the shorter kind of playing of the chord progression and the vocal chops, that's probably my favorite sections of the chorus. I do like, the main chorus, but that second part, like when it kind of winds down, that is one of my favorite parts of the song and in that chorus, in both choruses. So anyways, we'll listen to the outro of this song and we'll wrap up this video. right, so that is Solero's song Aura. And the outro, for the most part, is similar to the intro. Um, Not as many synths um, as like in the intro. It was building up that main kind of synth kind of pad sound within the beginning intro song of the song, but towards the outro you don't really hear that because it's kind of ending the song, so you kind of want to fade out that pad sound. So you hear just the percussion, and you do hear a tom come in every once in a while. The tom sound sounds like a lot of like 80s music where you hear a doo doo doo, like um, I don't know how else to kind of explain it other than making a sound effect like that, but it sounds more like a 80s 90s song with that tom sound, and just the calm response to end the song with the various different sounds that he used to have some variation within this outro and kind of intro section too. So overall, really great song. Aura, definitely one of my favorites from Soulero, right up there with Invisible. Those two are probably my favorite songs from Soulero. I don't know if I can rank them one and two. I'd say Aura is my favorite Electro song. Maybe Invisible is my favorite house song from him. Hard to pick a number one, but this song I listen to quite a bit. I would say whenever I think of Soulero, I think of this song. And if I were to listen to a go-to Soulero song, definitely would listen to Aura. And it's lived up to that expectation with, you know, 1,500,000 views. It could have more, but at least it hit the million mark for as long as it's been out. So definitely a really good song. Again, if you guys have not listened to Solero's music, I highly encourage you to. He does leave comments here, so thank you, Soulero, for leaving comments and actually watching these videos. It makes me really happy every single time I see your comments. So it's always great to see, you know, an artist you look up to commenting on your videos. Plus, it's always interesting to hear some of the backstory, like the world. I didn't really know that was the backstory with the vocal version versus the instrumental version. So that was really interesting for me to know. And I don't know if that's like on the Monstercat wiki anywhere. So that's just an interesting piece of information that, you know, only Soulero could provide. So again, thanks for leaving your comments on the videos. I hope I did the breakdown of Aura justice, and like, comment, subscribe to my videos, and I hope to see you guys in the next A Producer's Approach video. And listen to the song Aura without me talking, for sure. So anyways, hope you guys have a good one. Peace.